So if we have time at the end of practice today, I'm going to be playing one of my, it's hard to see, Moonbeam meditations. There we go. And it's going to be the calming breath. So just so you know, if it's not coming clear over the audio here, you can pull that up on Apple Music, Spotify, Amazon Music, Pandora. Moonbeam meditation. It's that color blue, calming breath. Hopefully we'll get to it. Welcome, you guys. We have been on a 5-week series based on Kleshas. I did mention we are going to use 2 bolsters at some point. Anyone at home that's going to be doing this recording, you can use a bolster or pillows from your bed as the second bolster, or you can just do it with one. Okay. But hopefully it'll be nice and luxurious when we get there. But our series has been on the Kleshas, and in the second sutra, or the second chapter of the Yoga Sutras, which is the compilation of all the yogic philosophy, it says life is suffering, but suffering can be avoided. Before it goes into techniques and tools to use to avoid the suffering, which is basically the whole book, it mentions there's 5 different categories, and you could put your suffering under one of these 5, and usually they feed into each other. So the first one is ignorance and delusion, basically what blocks us from seeing the true state of ourself or reality. The second one's the ego, because the ego can be inflated or deflated, making us feel overly confident or really insecure. Then we have the attachments. The attachments are things that we love, things that bring us pleasure, people, places, things. When we have a loss of those things, we can experience suffering. But we also talked about how we can attach ourselves to trauma from our past, and how these tools and techniques can help us to heal from that and overcome those obstacles so that we're not imprisoned by the past. The fourth one we talked about last week was aversions, what we try to avoid or run from because we think it's going to cause us harm or suffering. And we went over that in detail last week. This week, we're on the 5th and final one, and it's the fear of dying. So if you look at mankind's greatest fear, it's usually the fear of death. But it's not just the fear of death, it's the fear of change. That's like the biggest change that can happen to us, right? Is for the soul to leave the body. And so the fear of change is also the fear of the unknown. So I have a really good friend, Daniel. I know Jen knows who I'm talking about. He and I have had somewhat parallel lives. He's the youngest of 4 boys. I'm the youngest of 4 girls. He grew up in the Church of Christ. I grew up in the Church of Christ. We both started a spiritual path from a young age, and we both discovered yoga and meditation, and it completely changed our lives. A few years ago, he lost his mother. And like a lot of couples who've been together 50, 60 years or more, they tend to go kind of back to back, you know? One doesn't usually live much longer than the other. And that's exactly what showed up in his family within the year. His dad was very ill. And his dad had broken away from the church, but I think his mom was still going. Before she passed. And when he was starting to go through a lot of health issues, and they put him somewhere where someone could watch after him like 24 hours a day, he started to get a little mental. And Daniel told me that he went there. He was like, I just don't understand why my dad is holding on. I wish he would just let go. Right? And so what he discovered was it was the fear of the unknown, not just the fear of death. Because of the religious upbringing he had had and the conditioning he had had, when Daniel went to speak with him, he was like, Dad, it's okay. It's okay to let go. You know, Mom will meet you on the other side. And he's trying to be comforting, and he's trying to reassure him. And his dad says, I'm too scared to die. I think I'm going to hell. That was what was creating all the mental imbalances. He was so like literally scared of all of it, right? So it's not just the fear of death, it's the fear of big changes, it's the fear of the unknown. And so the yogis are trying to give us comfort in this and let us know this is what is our greatest fear, and it's possible to overcome it. So Monday, we ended with Shavasana, and Shavasana being a practice where you're supposed to be facing your own death. That's why we have Shavasana. It's not just to rest and integrate the benefits. It's a spiritual moment. It's supposed to be a meditation on facing your own death. And not in the morbid way, in a way of discovering, if I really allow my breath rate and heart rate to lower, if I allow all the distractions to disintegrate, I'm just left bearing witness. What piece of me inside is bearing witness to everything that's happening on the outside and everything that's happening on the inside? And you can see that you can separate yourself from your thoughts. You can separate yourself from your emotions. You can separate yourself from sensation. And you can just be the observer. And so the yogis were like, that observation piece is the soul. It's the infinite part of yourself that is eternal and goes on despite the health of the body. Despite the inner workings of the mind, life is on a continuum. And so really that's what Shavasana is for. We just don't talk about it all the time.
I've been doing yoga for years and never knew that.
I bring it up at least 5 times a year, but I don't bring it up in every class, right? Because who wants to think about that every time you do Shavasana? Sometimes you just want to bliss out, right? Sometimes you just want to escape. Sometimes you just want that mental vacation. But that's truly the roots of Shavasana. It's called corpse pose for a reason. Okay, the last thing I want to share with you with this subject matter, and then we'll get it into the practice. There's a story of a woman who came to the Buddha, and she just lost her daughter. Her daughter had just passed, and she knew the Buddha was close by. She would run into the Buddha, and she would beg the Buddha, please, I know you of all people can bring her back to life. Will you bring her back? And he said, if you can bring me 1 mustard seed from a house that has never experienced death, I'll bring her back. And so desperately, she ran to every house, knocking on the door, asking the people, have you experienced death? And they all said yes. They had lost their parent, they had lost their aunts or uncles or cousins or children already. So she realized she needed to accept it. She went back to the Buddha very humbly and said, now I understand. The moral lesson of that was, no one can escape death. So why fear it? It's coming, whether we like it or not. It's a hard lesson, but still yoga. So with that in mind, we're going to open our hearts for a little bit before we get into the next practice. So if you bring your bolster underneath your back and lower gently to the floor with your palms turned open. Close the eyes. And even though we're not taking the corpse pose or we're not taking Shavasana, I do want you to be here just to feel the contour of your body, to feel the upliftment in your chest, to develop deeper, stronger breath so you can feel it as though you're opening up your heart. Opening the heart up to this piece of philosophy, opening up your heart to the fact that some things are inevitable. Opening your heart up to acceptance. And notice the undulation of the breath. Some of you might experience it from the chest down to the belly and then back up. Some of you may reference it from the belly up into the chest and back down. And just allow your inner awareness to serve the wave of the breath. Bringing all your attention to it. Because the breath is our greatest life support system. We need this oxygen. We need to be able to breathe in order to bring life and aliveness and vitality to this body. To bring life and aliveness and creativity to the mind. Let's take a cleansing breath. Breathe in through your nose. Breathe it out through the mouth. Now bend your knees. Separate your feet as wide as your sticky mat. And just rock the knees a couple times from side to side. So once you bring this little awakening and twist to the hips, low back and belly, turn over to one side of the body just enough to scoot the bolster away and to roll back down to your spine. We're going to keep the knees bent at first, and then we're going to fly the right leg skyward. Now, if you're less limber in this leg or in the hamstrings, please do not feel like you have to wrap your arms around the thigh. But if you have that flexibility available, and if it doesn't strain you to lace the hands behind it, then do so. Splay the toes nice and wide, and keep reaching up through the padding of the foot. The more active we are in a muscular way, the more engagement we'll have, the more warmth we will build. If possible, slide your hands up to your calf without lifting the sacrum. You want to keep that anchored down to the floor. Take one last deep breath and Padangusthasana A. And gently release the foot. Inhale, fly the left leg skyward. At first, just check in with sensation. Possibly threading the hands behind the leg. Perhaps drawing it in a little closer towards the face. Maybe sliding it a little higher up to the calf. If it doesn't create a struggle physically. Or a struggle with your breath. Activate the foot if you want to fire up the muscles. Otherwise, you can just be a little bit more yin-ish. Now contain the left leg in your hands if that's available. Extend your right leg out, scoop the belly in, and peel the head up as if you were trying to lift towards the knee. So now the legs are scissored. On your next in-breath, catch the right leg, let go of the left. As you exhale, scoop in and lift. Inhale, swap. Exhale, scoop and lift. Inhale, scissor the legs the other way. Exhale, work the core a little more. After you scissor back to the right side, slowly take a hold of your shins, lower to the back side of your head. Holding Apanasana. Now keep a hold of your left knee. Slide your right leg out. As you inhale, you're going to extend the arms overhead and the left leg forward. And as you exhale, you're going to stay on the left side and clasp a hold of the knee and tuck it back into the belly. Just a little flow here to warm up. Inhale, arms circle overhead, left leg extends forward. Exhale, you're slowly drawing the knee to the chest. Control your breathing and let the movement synchronize with it. We'll do one more to the left. Now plant the left foot to the floor. Take a hold of your right knee, hug it into the chest. And now slide your left leg out. See how that feels. So technically, you don't have to keep the left leg straight. You can keep it bent for the flow. Inhale, circle the arms overhead, extend the right leg. It can even hover right above the ground. And then exhale, gently close it back into the chest. Continue with repetition. Mindful breathing, mindful motion. Last one to the right. Next time you pull the knee in, draw the left knee along with it, roll to your right side, and gently come up. We're going to come up to stand. A little warm up on our backs. We'll come to stand at the top of the mat where your feet are lined up, the feet are rooting downward. Bring your hands to namaste at the heart. And as you inhale, bend the knees and reach the arms up alongside the ears, really extending up through the side lats, opening up the side ribs. Look down at your feet, shift your sits bones and thigh bones back enough to see the big toes. And then as you exhale, hinge forward, take the arms back. Breathe in and slowly as you come back to Utkatasana, rounding out the inner heel, mounting the big toes. And then exhale, slide it back. Inhale, coming up, gazing forward. Exhale, hinging and looking down. 3 more. Last one. Inhale, this time straighten your legs. Come all the way up to Urdhva and exhale, swan dive down to your Uttanasana. All right, we're gonna flow from this juncture here. Inhale, let your arms widely fan open. Come up to the top. Exhale, swan dive forward and down. Inhale, take the arms wide and up. So I work with a physical therapist in teacher training, and she says this movement with the shoulders is really important to do. One more round. Exhale, lower. Hold here and pause, shifting your weight forward towards the toes. Letting the head go. Affirming here as you hold. Nothing and no one on this earth can hold me down or back. Not even the fear of change or the unknown.
On your next inhalation, step back to plank. And when you come to plank, streamline shoulders, elbows, and wrists. We're gonna pick up the right foot, allow it to hover for flying plank. As you exhale, press back away from your hands to take Ekapada Adho Mukha Svanasana. And this is our new flow. So inhale, come forward, shoulders over hands, head lifts up. Exhale, head lowers down as you scissor the right leg skyward. Inhale to flying plank. Exhaling, this version of downward facing dog. One more. Good, now lower the right foot to the floor. Power into your hands, stretch back more through your arms, sail the hips even higher, and gaze back towards the toes. Inhale, come back to plank. From plank, keep the belly hugging in. Sides of the neck long, float the left foot up. Let it hover, flying plank. Exhale, press back. Ekapada Adho Mukha Svanasana. Inhale, flying plank. Exhale to down dog. And keep this flowing. Now lower the left foot to the ground, sink your knees down, and push back into extended child's pose, keeping the arms lifted and active. So the hands are glued down, fingers spread out. It's okay if the head hovers, you don't have to force the face to touch down. Deep breathing in and out through the nose. May I release now from all outer involvements into my own inner haven of peace. Inhale, rock forward again, tabletop. Curl the toes, launch into downward facing dog. This time in downward facing dog, once you plug your hands down, stretch back through your arms, fly the hips skyward, equally press down to the balls of the feet. The heels will elevate and it will create a higher pinnacle for the pose. Thighs rolling in and powering back. When you're ready, stepping, lunging, or floating the feet to Ardha Uttanasana. And then let go. That second shot, or the place we're hinging from now, is all about the spiritual lesson of developing a deep sense of trust and a state of sweet surrender. If you think about it, letting go in that dying process is exactly that. Trust and surrender. Inhale, coming up. Exhale, dropping back into the Utkatasana. Good. Mindful breathing. Breathe it out. Inhale, breathe it up. Continue. Inhale, straighten the legs, Urdhva Hastasana. Exhale, swan dive down, Uttanasana. Continue this repetition. Inhale all the way up. Exhale all the way down. Inhale up. Exhaling down. Inhale this time, stepping your right leg back. turn and plant your back foot to the floor. Helicopter up, warrior two. So in warrior two, your back foot should be parallel to the back of the mat, front thighs lunging and sinking so it's more parallel to the floor. Navel's lifting, sternum's rising, crown is lifted. Now turn your palms open. Good, inhale, turn your face to face the front door. Exhale, lunge the knee, look out towards the left hand. Inhaling, straighten the front leg, neutralize the neck. Exhale, turn and gaze down the fire finger. Couple more. Last one. Reach the hands down to frame the front foot, spin out of your back heel. Left foot returns to plank. Exhale, downward facing dog. This time we're going to keep both feet on the floor. Inhale, plank. Exhale, down dog. 3 more. Anytime we're supporting our own body weight, it's a good strengthener for the bones. Try not to rush it. The next time you're in downward facing dog, the right foot's going to step forward and up between the hands. The back foot will bury down. Inhale to warrior two. Once you arrive at Virabhadrasana 2, firm up your foundation. Splay open through the hips. Stack the shoulders over the pelvis. And the head over the heart. Open up your palms. Inhale, straighten the right leg. Turn the neck to be neutral. Exhale, come back to warrior two, gazing down the right hand. Continue. Pause. Now, helicopter down. Bring the right foot back to plank. Exhale, downward facing dog. So, I don't know if you've noticed, I'm trying to stay away from chaturangas today. You can always add them in if you want. Inhale, walk, lunge, or float through to the top. Ardha Uttanasana. And exhale, lower. Little inner reflection here. And then we'll go back to the chair flow. Inhale, knees bend, arms up to Uttanasana. Exhale, breathe it out and down. Keep the knees narrow. Inhaling up. Exhaling down. 3 more. Two more. Last one. Inhale all the way up to stand. Exhale, Uttanasana. And the arms nice and wide to build up. Swan dive, spreading your wings as you lower. 2 more. Shoulders and hips are the most mobile places in the body. Taking it in many different directions. Lower the head and the arms. Inhale, take your plank. Now we're going to go back to the flying plank. Pick up the right foot. Press back. Eka para Adho Mukha Svanasana. Inhale, flying plank. Exhale, tilt it back. One more. And this time, the right foot's gonna step to the outside of the right hand. Now we're gonna take pause. If you want to be stacked on a fist, or if you want a block to go underneath forearms, if you need the back knee to come down, that's okay too. In fact, I'm gonna go there with you, Frank. The front knee can stay aligned over the ankle. I don't want us to be yin here. I want us to be active. So being active, you want your foot to line up where the toes point ahead, where the knees stack with precision over the ankle, and the knees even slightly hugging in towards your right shoulder. Your hands or arms are pressing down to the floor or prop in order to keep the upper back engaged and the belly hugging in. In other words, we're not collapsing into the shoulders. Eyes can be open or shut. So some of you have already heard my story. My body I had not had low back pain since I started yoga. That's why I started yoga. I had low back pain. And all these years, yoga took it away. And when I had to close the studio abruptly last year, and unexpectedly, the pain got worse and worse and worse and worse and worse until I finally went to see a chiropractor. I've been seeing a chiropractor since January, and I finally told him last month, I said, you know, you've helped me. I'm not in as much pain anymore, but on the occasion, it'll show up in a twist, or it'll show up once I've been sitting for a long period of time, like on a couch watching a movie or something. So I've been working with this other guy in the office who's doing deep stretches for releasing my psoas muscle. Because the psoas muscle, at least on my left side, is really angry and inflamed. I was doing some myofascial work with it because I told him, I'm like, you've helped the joints. Now it's in the fascia and the muscles. So sometimes just one thing isn't going to be the full recipe. My point. You may have to keep adding in other things to get a more positive result. All right, heel toe that right foot over. That's why I don't like to look at any yoga lineage as being the one and only. No, there's something to learn from all of them. Tuck the back toes, lift the knee, step it back to plank. If you can. I felt it too. All right, left foot's heel lift. Exhale, push back. Inhale, shift forward, flying plank. All right, continue that. 2 more rounds. The next time you flare the left foot up, we'll go ahead and swing it through to the outside of the left hand. You can always come down to the table and then bring the left foot up as well. If you want to sink the back knee, you can. If you want to be stacked on fist or a block, you may. Upper back broad. Belly snug, the left knee is hugging in towards the shoulder, the toes point ahead, and you're mounting through the hips. It's always wild when I look back at the history of yoga and I see Krishnamacharya, who was considered the godfather of the modern yoga. He had a lot of students, but 3 of them are more well known. He Kies Iyengar, an Iyengar practice that's totally different than Pattabhi Joyce's Ashtanga yoga. Totally different from what Deskatar related and created. There's something to gain and learn from them all. Take a couple more breaths. Slowly come up. You decide to walk away, heel toe the left foot over, frame it with your hands, curl the back toes, take it to just a simple plank, both feet on the floor. Exhale to downward facing dog. Couple deep breaths here. Inhale, land the feet at the top of the mat, however you want to arrive, but come up halfway when you do so. Exhale, lower down. Coming back to chair, inhaling up. Exhaling back. Inhaling up. Exhaling down. 3 more. Inhale to the top, Urdhvastasana. Exhale, fold in, Uttanasana. Inhaling to the top. Exhaling down. Barbara, you're gonna love the next one we added. Inhaling up. Exhaling down. Inhale, take plank. All right, before we do anything else, sink to your knees. And I want you to have your bolsters close by. One can be in front of you, one can be beside you. Okay? And then we'll go right back into the flow. Okay. Back to table. Then to your plank. All right, when you're ready. Right foot floats, flying plank. And then sail it back, one-legged down dog. All right, 2 more of those. Inhale, flying plank. Exhale, cast it back. 1 more. All right, so we're coming towards pigeon, all right? So once you flare the right leg up, bring that shin forward, but don't come all the way down. Because we're gonna take the bolster underneath the right hip thigh. So that right shin is right in front of the bolster. Make sure the knee is facing the right a little bit. The other bolster is going to slide in. Now look at your hip points, your hip bones. Both of them should be facing forward. And then lower. Now you may need to prop your arms on top. Some of you might be able to come down to one or the other cheek. So we're basically making this pigeon pose a little bit more restorative. Adding in support. Maybe not quite as intense. Still getting the benefits and still gaining an opening. Feel as though you are supported like a cloud. Close the eyes. Go within. Not to allow the mind to take you into the thoughts of yesterday. Anything that can wait until tomorrow. So see how this particular Klesha, the fear of change, the unknown, and dying, can feed into aversions, right? Someone not letting go because they're afraid of what may happen. Same thing with attachments, clinging to life because it's all they know, and that unknown is still a mystery. How it's the ego thinking we're just our body and we're clinging to it as hard as possible. Or the ignorance or the illusion, not knowing the true state of reality, not understanding the true state of the infinite soul. I shared Monday that my spiritual path began in college when I discovered a book called Life After Life. A compilation of stories gathered by different people from different religious backgrounds and different cultures, and they all had a near-death experience. You're seeking some answers. That's a great reference. Inhale, slowly start to lift up. Slide that bolster out in front. Use your hands and the right foot to lift the knee to slide the bolster away. Reforming your plank. And then we'll lift the left foot, sailing back to Ekapada Adho Mukha Svanasana. 2 more of those. Slow, steady breathing, slow, steady pace. Next time, if you want to come through for Pigeon, bring that left shin forward. Take the bolster. Slide it up underneath. Take your time. Squaring the hips. other bolster coming in. And then lowering to the opposite cheek. Notice if you're holding or contracting your left foot, calf, thigh, or buttocks. If you are, try to softly release. You can even treat this like a shavasana, even though you're in pigeon pose, by slowing down the heart rate and breath rate. Turning away from your thoughts, that you can move into that place of spaciousness in the mind. Dissolving the boundaries and limitations of the mind and body. Becoming the observer of all that is. Slide your hands back. Lift your way up, affirming a rise above the past and future to this eternal moment. That front bolster. Use your hands to help to lift that left knee, slide the other one out of the way. Once you plan for palms, we're coming to tabletop position. One more quick little flow, and then we're going to relax. So as you shift forward, take upward facing dog. Exhaling into child. We got a couple more rounds. Inhale. And exhale. Last one. Going to prepare for our Shavasana. So there's different things you can do. You could, since we got two bolsters, you could be in a back bend with the second one under your thighs. You could also, we haven't done this in a long time, take one bolster over the other, create like a plus sign. Sit on top. And lower down, which also feels really nice. For me at least. I learned that one from Judith Lassiter a long time ago. So I figured since we did our Dharma talk at the beginning, we really focused on what Shavasana is on Monday, that I would let you do a breathing meditation for today's Shavasana. This is one that I recorded last year called Calming Breath.
Now is a good time to get calm and relaxed. Create a comfort zone wherever you are and feel free to recline. Pranayama is often referred to as breath work. But prana actually means life, force, energy. And yama means to control. Since breath is our main portal of energy, we control the breath in various ways for different effects. This one has a calming effect on both the mind and the body. This is a natural breath you can witness in both infants and animals. But as we get older, we tend to breathe too shallow. This particular breath calls attention to the domed diaphragm muscle that parachutes up and down from the base of our ribs. the primary muscle for respiration. Let's begin. Place your palms lightly on your belly and gently close the lids of your eyes.
If that's too much of an effort to back bend, you can
of
just
how
have your
you're
hands
breathing.
by your sides.
You may be breathing through the nose or mouth, or a combination of the two. If you are not experiencing much movement beneath your hands, you could be drawing a shallow breath to deepen the flow of your breath. Soften your abdomen and create long, slow, deep breaths in and out through your nose. As you increase your capacity for air to enter your lungs, feel the belly rise and balloon up and out. As you release the breath, feel the belly drop and deflate. Continue to breathe this way, slowly and deeply, in and out through the nose. Try to avoid going into autopilot. Allow the belly to bellow in and out as you breathe. Observing how it rises with each in-breath and retracts on each and every out-breath. Stay in command over your breath. Belly ballooning and expanding on each in-breath. Deflating and retracting on each out-breath. As you continue this process, know that this breath is also beneficial to our digestive system, which processes not only the food that we eat, but all of our life experiences. Breathing in, belly rises. Breathing out, belly sinks back in. This is the law of the universe existing within the breath. Everything that expands must contract. We see this evidence all around us, from the seasons, the tides, and even the phases of the moon. Everything in life has a rhythm. So connect to the rhythm of your personal breath. Think of your body as being an instrument and the breath being the wind. If you hear the sound of your breath, think of it as being the song of your soul. Breathing in, feeling the lungs and the belly. Breathing out, emptying the lungs and the belly. As you continue this process, perhaps you are feeling more connected or simply more relaxed in your body. Perhaps you are more centered and calmly focused in your mind. Let's explore this a little more. Slide your left hand over your heart. The fluctuation of the chest resembles what is happening in the belly. It rises and falls as we breathe. Inflate your lungs fully and then empty them completely. Follow this rhythm and dive in deeper. Your breath will show you the way. Acknowledge the ripple effect of this breath as if it were waves. And surf the waves of your breath as the movement transfers up and down beneath the hands. Tune into this rhythm more and become aware of the undulation of the breath alongside your spine and the back side of your body. Let go of any gripping in your glutes or low back. Allow any tension from your face or your jaw to dissolve. Release any pressure from your tongue and relax the space between and surrounding your eyes. Regulate the rhythm of your breath to align your mind and your heart, to align logic with intuition, to align intelligence with your natural essence. Breathing in slowly and deeply, breathing out fully and completely. Let this continuous flow bring buoyancy to the heart and permit any heaviness to simply melt away. Let this continuous flow bring wholeness to your mind. Permit any distractions to fade away. If or when any other thoughts come to the forefront of the mind, allow them to recede back to the recesses of your mind. Just like a rolling wave comes up to the shore and recedes back to the vast open sea. Breathing in, breathing out. Nice and slow, slow and deep. Affirming quietly within. I am calm. I am calm. Music continues to play. Take time to start to wiggle fingers and toes. Begin to create extra movement. Feels good to your body and how you've placed it, as well as how you can exit out. Eventually coming up to take special seats. I want you to have your palms open on your lap. It's gently closed.
whole lesson this week has been on the spinal Klesha. The last thing I want to leave you with today is just a reflection. You were facing your death today. How would you feel about the way you lived and all the ways that you've loved? Have you lived life to the fullest? And have you experienced or given unconditional love? Bringing your hands now to the neutral. Om, 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 Shanti, Shanti.